Well, it was my dear mother. We have been very good friends. We didn't see eye to eye before I got saved. I've been exasperated her a lot of times, But after one of the last things my dad told me was, he said, he was real weak. He said, take care of your mother. And I remember that. So I did. I did the best I could to make sure she was taken care of. And sometimes we would just go riding in the car, and she would. So I would, like we were going home from church. I said, "Are you hungry, Mom?" And she said, she loved Taco Bell. She liked chicken hard tacos. So she said, "Yeah, let's go buy Taco Bell." I said, "I'm hungry." She said, "I'm hungry," So. We make our routine. We go to the post office and different places. But my mother, I saw both sides of her because I was her son, and she would come up to that school, and they would come up there with big cookies and stuff in third, especially like in the second and third grade. Mrs. Martin and Mrs. The different mothers would bake cookies, and I can remember way back then, and I've told this story before, but I'd be in school, and I just didn't do my work, I just didn't care, so my mother said, "Son," she said, "it's one thing for you to be, for your grades to be bad, but your conduct's good." She said, "Maybe it's a learning disability." Well, nothing wrong. So she said, "But there's another thing for your grades to be bad, and your conduct's bad." She said, "It's me and you, buddy." She told me, so she gave me 2 weeks. And I remember like on that Monday, she said, "All right, next week," or it was one day, I don't remember exactly. I was in the third grade. She said, "I'm coming up next week." She came up to the school, and Mrs. Crawford's class, and Mrs. Crawford was at Highlands. She would say, "Mrs. Kenerly, I'll be right with you." She said, okay, that's fine." And she was sitting there, had her hand on her purse, and she had her hair was all black, and she was sitting there. As soon as Mrs. Crawford turned around, she said, "You better." So the first week I still was throwing spitballs, putting tacks in people's chairs. But then the second week, she reminded me, I said, she said, "They'll remember you for the rest of your life because you got a spanking in front of the whole class." And I got to think, I said, she means business. So the second time, so that next week I was pushing chairs in for the teacher, and picking all the papers. She said, "Oh, you've been good." And when she talked to my mother, she said, "Oh, Mrs. Kenerly, he has just been great." I said, she said what she meant, and she meant what she said. To this day, I am, I'm not saying, what I am by the grace of God, but my mother and my father, they didn't let up on me, they didn't give up on me, So, I really appreciate my mother. She's been a good mother to me. Sorry for crying out. When they said, the Bible says you're quite your parents, and after we got up, anytime she would travel, I would try to go with her to make sure she was okay and she wasn't getting around too good. So I would, make sure she was in like in a wheelchair or things like that at the airport and stuff. So she wouldn't miss her, she said, "I hate to be inconvenienced." I said, "Mom, I inconvenience you more than you will ever inconvenience me." My dad would ground me from the car because, I'd do something, he said I couldn't drive. Sometimes she would slip, she said, "You go get in that car, go get what you want, and you better get back home. You be careful too, because I don't want to hear so sometimes the mother's love, she said. So, so I really appreciate her. There's a whole lot I can say. I don't want to tie the service, prolong the service, but there's a whole lot I can say. There she is on the back wall too. But I'm just trying to think of some of the things that my brothers, they get on me about a lot when I was little. Well, Bernie was born, and they gave some tools, and Bernie didn't do much, and my dad worked on things. So then Wayne came along, and we left the tools in the middle of the floor, and I came along, and I was tearing up stuff, and taking my sister's all baby's heads off to see what the motors were. So they came on one day, they told on me because taking a toy apart, and my father was furious. He was just upset because, you know, he was very conservative. So he wanted to get the belt, and I'm standing there, and when he came back, my mom said, hold on, son. I said, hold on, honey. She said, you've been praying for McKenny. She said, maybe he's the one. She said, he's around sticking things in the wall sockets and trying to take off the knobs and everything. So she said, will you please? She said, just hold up, look at the radio and see what he does. So she got me a radio. She was telling me about it. I didn't remember it. I mean, she said, I sat in the middle of the floor and played with that radio for a long time. So when he came back, home he came back, she said, he has not bothered me in 2 hours. She said, there's your mechanic right there. She said, don't quote your blessing. You've been praying for one of those things. So he started taking me around places, and we would thaw out pipes. We had a welder, but we could look at the pipes, and they had galvanized pipes, and we would hook it at one end, and we had this long cord, and we hooked the other end. We sit there and talk to people, and after a while, the water would start running. And so then they would pay me to do it. You know, they paid me like $5 or something. And I don't know what they gave him, but he would always give me just a little bit of. But he was showing me how to do things because he knew he wasn't going to be there all the time. And then, you know, as I got older, you know, he's just being around, you know, with my parents, they really helped me a lot. So I appreciate her. I given her flowers before she passed, and I want to give her flowers now. You know, so you know, my brother Wayne requested that made the work I've done speak for me, and she did a lot of work. So I just appreciate my mother, and I'm just thankful to God that I have her as long as I did.
Well, I want to appreciate this wonderful woman. Everyone knows she's a wonderful woman of God. I would thank her for the work she did for Michael, because the things that she taught him and the things that her husband taught made him the man that he is. And I have reaped the benefit of that. And I would just thank her, because I said, if it wasn't for you all, I wouldn't have a great husband. And people would always say, after his father died, Michael intended to make sure that his mother was taken care of. And I had no problem with that, because she was the type of woman that is a non-traditional mother-in-law, as it is said. And, you know, Michael made sure that she was close by. And I would say, you know, my mother-in-law lives next door to me, and people who didn't know, you know, kind of look at me and said, no, you don't understand the type of woman she is. There is no problem. There was no problem. We did not have issues. And I didn't have an issue with Michael taking care of his mother. She made sure she did not, she would apologize sometimes. Oh, I hate to bother him. I said, if you don't bother him, somebody else will. You bother him. She didn't want to impose. She didn't want to, just a wonderful spirit. And I am so appreciative of all the things that I learned from her. We would have good talks, and she taught me a lot of things. And I just appreciate the wonderful woman of God, the wonderful mother-in-law. I have no regrets. She was a wonderful woman. And I just thank God for her and for the family that produced a wonderful husband.